So it's 1982 and I'm 6 years old. This is me on the right-hand side of the Santa, the one that he's not rolling his eyes at. The one on the left is my little sister. And at 6 years old, I was approached by my friends in the neighborhood and they said, let's have a lemonade stand. And I was like, ah, a lemonade stand. Yes. I know exactly what we're gonna do. I know exactly where we're gonna put the thing. It's gonna be at the park across the street from my house. I know exactly what the sign's gonna look like. Gonna make it out of cardboard and markers, and I know exactly how much we're gonna charge and which flavor of crystal light we're gonna use, and it's gonna be the pink one, and it's gonna taste amazing, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. And so it was at this point in my young life that I realized that I had what I now lovingly call a GPS brain. And anytime anybody would ever tell me about something that they wanted to do, create, or become, I could immediately see a map that would formulate in my brain, and it would show me the most efficient, effective, and fun ways to get to that result. And so started at 6. Now, you know, overcomplicating is still a thing, even for those of us with a GPS brain. And so fast forward, I don't know, 30, how old am I now? So 35-ish years. And I decided I was going to start my business. I had this great, amazing career in corporate. I worked for a Fortune 25 bank doing project management and strategic planning, and really felt like it just wasn't quite enough. And so now here we are 35-ish years later, and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona at this amazing retreat center. You can see the palm trees here. This picture is actually from that retreat. And I have just spent the last year, like almost, trying to figure out how to get my business off the ground. And I thought I was going to be a life coach because I'm great at giving advice, or at least that was what I thought of myself. And so I'd spent this year spinning my wheels and trying to figure it out and wondering how to market and what do I do and how do I say it and what do I charge and all the things. Has anybody else ever been in that place before, like kind of unsure about all of the things? Okay, great. And it's not just me too. Great. So I spent all that time spinning my wheels. That first year in business, I made about $60 in revenue and took a $35,000 loss, which was interesting. And then came to this retreat, this business retreat, where I was again trying to like learn more about how I could get this life coaching business off the ground and get some people to say yes. And so I'm sitting in a room in this hotel, this like beautiful, luxurious hotel in Phoenix, with some of my friends here that are pictured in this lovely image. And this young lady who's sitting here on the ground in a straddle says, I am trying to get this event going. Like I want to do this event and I can't figure out what I need to do to get it going. I gotta sell it, I gotta, build it. And I'm like totally stuck. And so I said, well, let's just like talk about it for a minute and see where we get and like just tell me more. And so in about 12 minutes, she had like told me all the things, and I started to filter it through this GPS brain that I kind of forgot that I had. And in 12 minutes time, we had like a whole strategy for how she was gonna, sell, promote, create the retreat. And everybody in the room, we're all like sitting on these hotel beds, like, luxuriating, and everybody in the room was like, what just happened there? And I was like, what? I just, Kate told me what she wanted to do. I saw the map, it formulated in my brain, and like, there we are. And I was like, don't you guys like, didn't like, you guys have a GPS brain too, right? Like you see in maps too, right? And they were like, no, we don't, not at all. You're the only person that can do that. And I was like, what? This comes so easily to me, I don't understand. What do you mean you can't do that? And they were like, no, you should be doing that for your business. Don't life coach, business coach. You should be helping people build their businesses and like strategize how to do this stuff. And so at that point, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so I pivoted my business then, and instantly everything changed. As soon as I, determined that I was here to help business owners and to use my GPS brain to help them make things, more simple and more effective, then everything changed. Business, was moving like gangbusters. So fast forward again about 5 more years, and let's see if that works. Hold please. This direction. There we go. So 4 years later, I guess, I'm now, a mom. This is my daughter. She's 8. And I was in the midst of my divorce, and things were not great. This was not like one of those kind of magical, amicable divorces. It was actually, not fun. And in that moment in time, I was suddenly, my daughter was 3 then. I was suddenly faced with this new reality where I'm not going to be able to spend all of my daughter's life with her. We were, going to have joint custody, 50-50. And so this like amazing, bright, shining light of a kid was now going to be unavailable to me for 50% of her life. And so that was, I remember I was sitting on my couch when I like had this revelation that suddenly half of her life was just not going to be available to me anymore. And I realized that I was absolutely for, there was like nothing that was going to get in the way of my ability to maximize every moment that she is available to me. And I had to shift my business again. Because even as, with the GPS brain, like, right, like we overcomplicate everything. Even once I like made the shift to helping business owners, I was still making everything complex. I had, one-on-one clients and group clients and this and that and retreats I was trying to do and events and all the things. And it became really clear that I had to create a business that was going to allow me to work less and have the business work harder, twice as hard for me so that I could work half as much, because I needed to support my family as a single earner and be available to my kid when she was around, because I was definitely not going to miss another moment with her. So that is where the simple framework came from, was this idea. So I want to introduce you guys really fast to my friend and client, Lauren. She runs a company called LeadHERship. She's an amazing PR strategist and has a wonderful company that had been stuck, plateaued at about, I don't know, 400,000 in revenue or so, something like that, when she found me. And Lauren is amazing. Like, like we all are. She's a high performer. She was doing all the right things, had lots of activities going on. And again, was in this place where things felt pretty complex in her business. And she reached out because she was in this place where things felt complex. There were lots of opportunities. And she really wanted to find a way to do things a little bit more strategically. She said that she felt like she had kind of fallen into success a little bit in spite of herself. She'd been doing all the right things, building the business in all the right ways, and was doing a lot of things that she felt like she should be doing and a lot of things that she felt like she could be doing. And so we started with an opportunity assessment, which is kind of the signature thing that I do with clients, to look at all of that so that we could then simplify her business model down to the most leveraged activities that were going to get her the results that she really wanted. And since then, she's almost doubled her revenue and is well on track to exceed 7 figures in the next year, which is really exciting and awesome. And things are a lot more simple for her. She's able to engage with her business in a whole new way, and it feels really generative and amazing. And so I share that because I'm going to walk you guys through my simple framework in a minute, which is the foundation for the process that I take clients like Lauren through every time, I start with a new client. And so I'm going to walk you guys through that and give you guys an opportunity to see what that looks like so that you can work it out for yourselves as well. Because it's really just about being able to identify what are the things that are working, what are the things that aren't, and then doing more of the things that are working and less of the things that aren't. How are we doing so far? Anybody like, are we tracking? Can I get like some thumbs up if this is making sense so far? Yes. Okay, great. All right. So here again, right? Like when I met Lauren, when I meet like most business owners, this is essentially where many of us are, especially, thanks for the thumbs up, you guys. Especially, right, women, right? Women tend to be in this place a lot. I call this the standard business model. We've got a gazillion opportunities, right? There's like ideas and potential and things, and think people are coming to us and they want to partner, and we're going to do this and do that, and there's offerings and all the things. We've got a million opportunities. We've got complex activities because it's very easy to have get advice from people that say, well, you got to do this and you have to have this and you should be doing this. And to look out at the landscape, either at our perceived competitors or at other folks that are, running businesses similar to ours that we want to, or who have done the thing that we want to do. And we're trying to follow in their footsteps and do it the way that they've done it, right? There's like all these activities that we bring on to try to like create more and more and more, because again, as humans, right? Like we're also humans on this journey. We're constantly telling ourselves that we need to do more in order to have more. So we end up with all these complex activities. And then oftentimes we think that our intentions and our goals are clear, but what's actually true is that we're assigning a goal that's kind of out there in the distance, whether it's like, generating 7 or 8 figures in our business, or, getting the amazing, home that we want, or like whatever the thing is. It's like oftentimes it's outside of ourselves or it's far off in the distance. And we don't necessarily do the work to really dig into why the thing is important. So for Lauren, 7 figures is the goal for her, but her why is very clear. It's got very little to do with the actual money and so much more to do with the fact that she's running a woman-owned business. She's got a staff full of women, and she wants to be, and because the percentage of women-owned businesses that exceed 7 figures is so small, it's like infinitesimally small. She's really committed to getting to 7 figures so that she can be another woman-owned business that has been able to do that has been successful in doing that, so she can model what's possible for other women-owned businesses. So when our intentions are fuzzy and we have so many opportunities and our activities are too complex, we end up spinning our wheels, we don't get traction, we experience resistance, drag, and friction in the doing of the stuff. And it makes it very difficult to make decisions because there's like so much potential. And all of that leads to hard-earned, inconsistent results. And not to mention the fact that, again, right, we are humans having an entrepreneurial experience. And so as humans, we just get in our own way. And when we like put all of that together, it makes it tricky. It just does. And the thing that I keep seeing over and over and over again in the business owners that I work with and connect with is that it is almost like, I would say 99.9% of the time, it's our humanity that makes it the most difficult to create a sustainable business model that actually works and feels good and does the thing that we want it to do. So is this making sense? Anybody feel like this is the kind of business model that you're running? Maybe like drop a like this feels familiar in the chat, or that was me, or that is me, or something, just so that I've got some idea of where you guys are, and then I'll keep moving. So that's the standard business model. What I prefer is the simple business model. So with the simple business model, instead of excessive opportunities, opportunities are prioritized. Instead of a million complex activities, our activities are leveraged, which means that they're going to get us the most bang for the buck. They're going to take us further, faster, with less effort. They're going to, be the shortest distance to the goal line, and they're going to be easiest to execute on, and hopefully fun too. And our intentions are clear. And so because we've done the work to really examine why the thing is important, why that trajectory that we're on makes sense to us. And so what that does is, when we've got our opportunities prioritized, when we've got our activities leveraged, when we've got our intentions really clear, then we're more effective, we're more efficient, and we're able to enjoy our business more. And, part of this as well, again, is really like looking at our humanity to say, okay, how can, me, the human, the little human inside me, how can I work with the little human inside me to make sure that all these things are actually happening? And from there, the result is ease, flow, and rocket fuel for results. Who wants that besides me? Yes. So great. Moving on. So this is the framework, you guys, my friends. And it's really wild because, I've been doing this, like taking clients through this intuitively for a long time. And then I started to get more formal with it over the last several years, but I didn't realize that it actually worked out to this amazing, wonderful, serendipitous framework, or I'm sorry, acronym, until just a few months ago. And I'm so happy it did because it works so nicely and it makes it so easy to remember and to like look at for reference. So this is the simple scaling framework. Again, this is the process that I take clients through when I do my opportunity assessment, which is a deep dive that I do one-on-one with my clients. So I'm going to take you guys through it at a high level. And then actually at the end, I have a QR code where you guys can download a free workbook if you want, that'll take you through it. I know it's like 30 pages long, and I'll take you through it step by step and give you questions that you can ask yourselves to, dig a little bit deeper into this stuff. But this is it in a nutshell. So it's the simple scaling framework. S stands for simplify your foundation. I'll tell you a little bit more about what all these things mean in a second. I is we improve what's working. M is we're going to maximize time and energy. P, we're going to prioritize your potential. L, we're going to leverage your activities. And E, we are going to expand your view. So how about we dive in a little deeper, shall we? Great. Where are we? Please. Oops. Okay. S, yay. All right. So what does it mean when we talk about foundation? So when I'm talking about our foundation, I'm talking about the things that like make up the essentials of the business, right? So our offerings and revenue drivers, business development, marketing efforts, and operations. Again, we tend to make things very, very complex. I speak from experience, having had a gazillion different offers and a gazillion different, group programs and courses and one-on-one offerings and retreats and events and things and all the stuff, right? And so it's really easy to do that. And what happens when we have, number one, too many offerings, and number two, too many, I'll just say number one, when we have too many offerings, not only does it make it more complex for us, right? More complex for us to execute, but it also makes it more complex from a user perspective. And so the consequence of that is that people look at what we do. I mean, have you guys ever like been to somebody's website and they've got a million different things going on and you're like, I don't know where I fit. Like, what is it that I actually need here? Like I've been shopping for new cell phone service and I was like, there's 1,200 options here. Just tell me what is the one that I need? I can't figure it out. And so it makes for a more complicated buying experience, which means that, of course, you're going to sell less, which is not what we want. We want you to connect more, sell more, help more people, make a bigger impact in the world. So simplifying your offerings and your revenue drivers is really important. Business development and marketing efforts, again, this is probably on both sides, right? If you're like, well, I got to do all the things. I have had so many clients who are like, well, I'm on social here and social there, and I'm, doing this, and I've got the funnel, and I'm trying to set it up, and I've got, this and that and the other thing, and, and then we're also doing events, and we're doing this and that. It becomes exhausting. It just becomes exhausting, right? And that the opportunity is to, which we'll do in the next steps, is to determine what actually works and is effective that you actually enjoy doing, and then doing more of that, and maybe like pulling back on the things that you don't perhaps need to do. I often will talk to clients about social media, especially because it feels like it's an absolute necessity, right? Like that is such a thing that I hear that, oh, well, I've got to be on social and I have to be on LinkedIn and I have to do this. And, the great reality most of the time with many of my clients is that it's kind of a story that we tell ourselves and that it's not always actually necessary. Because sure, you could be there, but the could is also a slippery slope. It's a lot like the should, but it's like even more insidious because like the could, well, I could do that. I could go over here and there's lots of potential there if I do, creates that's like where we get into the excessive opportunities and excessive complex activities, because then we're like, well, I could just like do a little more over here, and we're not actually assessing what we have capacity to do. Operations, same thing, right? We've got all the stuff that we're doing. We think we need it all. The reality is probably we don't. So first step is to really look at your foundational pieces here and try to simplify them. And so the way that we do that is with the next elements here. So we're going to improve what's working. So here's where in my opportunity assessment process, we're going to look at everything, right? And so we look at all the offerings. We look at the business development and marketing activities. We look at the operational stuff, and we start to ask some questions. We get really curious. Curiosity is one of our best tools as humans. It's one of my favorite things. I just love it because it creates the opportunity for us to say, huh, I wonder, what might it be like if it wasn't like this? Right. And especially if you're feeling like things are, too complex, too busy, curiosity is an amazing tool here. So we start by improving what's working. So we look at all of that stuff. And again, in the workbook, it has an opportunity for you to like write down all of the things and then start to ask yourself, well, okay, this thing, right? Like if it's my, 65 email nurture sequence, does it get results? Does it feel good to execute this? Is it actually aligned with my values and my brand? Because again, right, sometimes these things are not, like being on social. So like I've spent a year plugging away on LinkedIn and was posting every 5 days a week, every single day, every single weekday, was there relentlessly for 365 days. And I got some amazing results. I had like all this traction, tons and tons of followers, and lots of great feedback, made tons of great connections. I got a few clients out of it. And what was interesting is that it started to feel like a slog, like to execute it started to feel like it was more, energy than it was really worth. And not because I wasn't getting clients from it, but because I started to get curious about, is this actually really aligned with the values, my values and my brand and where I'm taking it? And I started to think, I don't know. I don't really know. I feel like if I'm going to be on LinkedIn, I want to do this a little bit differently. And so I paused it. And I don't know if I'll go back. I enjoy it, but it's one of those things that I could do, but I don't know that it's actually a necessity. Like it would be very easy for me if I wanted to spend the time to build a big following and then like create a course and sell it to them and have like all this passive income and do stuff like that. But as I sit and I get curious about it, I wonder, is that actually the business model that I want? I don't know. Like, do I want to put in all that energy and effort and do all that stuff on the front end to get that result? I'm not sure. Because what is actually important to me is time with my kid and spending time in the hammock and, being available to go on a field trip or to see music some night with my friends. And the prospect of building like that meant that those things in the present moment weren't going to be possible because I was trying to like build for something way off in the future. So again, look at all of the things and ask yourself, does it get results? Does it feel good to execute? And is it aligned with my values and with the trajectory of the brand? And if it checks all those boxes, then that's probably something worth keeping. But if it doesn't, then that's an opportunity to get more curious. So now we're going to move on to M, maximize time and energy. This is one of my favorites because have you guys, is anybody like a superstar at delegation, automation, that sort of thing? Like I love taking things off my plate and I am so good at it. I'm never afraid to do it. I don't ever have a problem telling my VA or my project manager or my team members to just go do the thing. And I just let them do it. And I'm like, yeah, peace, go do the thing. I trust you. Absolutely. I for sure, you could definitely do it better than I can. Definitely. Totally worth my time. Go. I'm going to guess, right? Like most of the business owners I know, myself included, it's very tricky, right? Because our businesses are our babies and handing things off or being willing to take the personal touch out of them or being willing to let go of them completely feels kind of edgy, right? Like, especially for high performers like we are, most of us, right? If we're in this community, I think we are. And so the opportunity here, right, is to be willing to like kind of soften your humanity and know that there is potential for rocket fuel in delegation, automation, and elimination of activities and things that aren't working. And so the way that I tend to like to think about this is, where is your energy as the founder or as the deliverer of the highest value services going to do the most good, right? And most of the time, like there are some exceptions, but most of the time, for those of us that are, CEO, founder, whatever, like if those are our president, like if those are our monikers in our businesses and our companies, then the great likelihood is that highest value activity for you is going to be something related to business development or relationship management. Like that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck for your company out of those two types of activities. And that everything else That's like $1,000 an hour activities. Everything else is going to be a $10 an hour activity. This is what my friend Todd Herman calls them. And $10 an hour activity doesn't mean you're going to pay somebody $10 an hour to do it. It just means that it's way below your pay grade and probably not worth your time doing it. Now, I also know that it's very common and very easy to feel like, well, yeah, but it's going to take me so much time to train somebody else to do it that it's not worth it because I might as well just do it myself, right? Has anybody ever said that to yourselves? Yes, probably. Okay. I know I have. And the reality is that there are ways to put processes in place that allow you to train once. Yes, thank you, Jill, for the thumbs up. To train once and have it live on in perpetuity, because the reality is that we can like continue to do the same thing and then we're going to get the same results. But if we want things to be different, then sometimes we just have to be willing to let go. And it's just our little human inside who is afraid of the consequences of that prevent us from actually doing the thing. So delegation, automation, and elimination are where it's at. And when it comes to like what to eliminate, which I think is an easy question to ask, the things that I usually recommend are anything from the improve what's working list, like that list of all the things where you said, oh, is it aligned with my brand and my values? Does it feel good to execute? And does it actually get results? If it doesn't check all those 3 boxes, like just be willing to just let it go and see what happens. You can let go of activities. You could pause being on social for a while. You could decide that, sending your newsletter every single week is not highest value. Maybe you do it once a month instead. Like there are ways to iterate, but it's always going to be this little human inside you that's going to say, oh, I can't do that. Right. And that the opportunity is to really challenge that fear and say, like, is it actually true? What if we just tried? What if we just tried it? Like, what might happen? So just be willing is my advice when it comes to this one, because this one tends to be the hardest. Is just be willing to experiment, see what happens. Be willing to try it. Be willing to like ask yourself if the stories that you're telling yourself are stories or if they're actually true. Once we are done with looking at what we can delegate, automate, and eliminate, now it's time to prioritize what's left. So again, right, like so often founders come to me and they're in this place where they're like, well, I mean, there's like so much potential here. It's insane, right? Like we've grown this thing and it's working. And now like people want to partner with us and we've got ideas for new offerings and we could do this, like this vertical is awaiting us to capitalize on it. And like we see this opportunity in this market and we could go this direction too. And we could do this and this and add all this stuff on. And what should we do? And so oftentimes one of 2 things happens. Either they get paralyzed and just stay stuck with all of the ideas and the opportunities just kind of swirling around like, an electron atom that's like, blah, 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 whatever, and not doing anything about it because they're like, I don't know what to do because there's so much potential and like which direction, and I don't want to do the wrong thing. So either they're there or they just start picking things and then they run out of capacity and then like everything blows up. So the opportunity is to really like, again, do that other process first where you can free up some capacity, eliminate some stuff, figure out what's worth doubling down on, figure out where you can, actually put more of your energy so that then you can determine where to prioritize. And the things to kind of think about are, like what, like oftentimes new clients will come to me when they're in this like inflection point, right? And they need to grow their team, but they're like not exactly sure when and how to do that. And so like prioritizing allows you to determine what the right timing is for things like that. And again, like where you might add additional revenue streams and what the right timing might be for that. And then again, what new projects or shiny objects are capturing your attention, which ones are worth doing and which ones aren't. So the stuff that we did before is going to make it much, much easier to then lay the foundation to say, okay, if there were only going to be like one thing this year that was going to be the main priority, what would that be? Cool. Making sense? Yes, great. Okay, awesome. So once we've got the list prioritized and we know what things are staying and what things are going and like who we're gonna delegate to and all of that stuff, now we can actually look at our activities and decide where we can find leverage. And so again, when I talk about leverage, right, I like this little icon here because it's talking about shortcuts, right? And so like for me, I've got this GPS brain. What a GPS does is you plot in here's where you are and here's where you want to go. And you're trying to like get from, Beacon to Times Square, and like, what's the easiest, fastest path to get there with the least, construction, and, that's not going to take me like the circuitous route that takes me like through Pennsylvania to get there for some crazy reason or whatever. So leverage is the same way, right? We can do this with our activities. It's about finding the activities that allow us to shortcut the distance to the results. And I just love shortcuts, man. Like I'm the girl who like, if I look around and I've got like 62 things to bring from the downstairs to the upstairs, I'm going to gather them all up and risk life and limb trying to carry everything all at once rather than have to make 2 trips. I don't care. I will like take on that risk of potentially falling down the stairs and breaking my neck as long as I don't have to make 2 trips up the stairs. So this is leverage is like that. And so my favorite opportunities for finding leverage are through these 3 things: partnerships and collaborations, tapping into your existing network, and optimizing the strategies that you've already got for referrals, retention, and renewals. So partnerships and collaborations are, again, just like one of my favorites, right? Because when you can tap into somebody else's existing audience with an offer that's, number one, going to be great for their audience, that's going to be complementary to what they do, and is going to make them look like a hero, and is going to get their clients better results, then man, you're like, that's like the sweetest spot ever. Because not only are you now not having to go and like find all the individual folks on your own, they're just like right there in front of you, but you're also like, again, making yourself a hero to the community owner, the person who like already has that audience, because now their job becomes easier because their clients are going to get better results with your help paired with theirs. So looking for opportunities for partnerships and collaborations is just, it's like such a win-win-win that I just can't recommend it enough. Tapping into your own network, I think this one is like way, way, way underrated. I think that, we forget that we know amazing people already who either might become a client or likely know people who could become clients for us, or who can connect us to opportunities to find more, right? And I think that the opportunity to, be transparent, be vulnerable, be willing to give and to add value for others creates exponential value in the long run for ourselves. I gave this example in Dallas at the LeadHERship Global Retreat earlier, or I guess it was last month because now we're in November, that my business partner is building something huge, like absolutely huge, like has the potential to be a $1 billion wealth management firm, like from day one. And he has systematically just been a giver through, 30 plus years in his career without ever asking for a thing. And now is the time where that is paying off. And that's not to say that you have to nurture your relationships for 30 years before you can get anything out of them. But that is like a pretty cool, I think, and very palpable and like potent way to look at it, through this example, that he's like just been giving. And now that he's ready to ask, it's going to pay off, 10 figures. So, is that 10 figures? Whatever it is. But, so definitely don't forget about the power of your existing network and what they can and probably would be willing to do for you. And then optimizing strategies for referrals, retention, and renewals. Like, it's such an easy thing to implement because asking for referrals doesn't have to be hard. Retaining clients, if you're not already putting a focus there, can be huge, because we think about the amount of time and expense that we spend trying to get new clients. And retaining them, costs us often very little and creates the potential for renewals and or upsells and or other things like that can create additional revenue sources for us without us having to beat the streets to find new clients. And retention activities also impact referral activities, because the happier our existing clients are, the more likely they are to refer folks to us. So keep all of that in mind as you think about leverage. Making sense, folks, hopefully? Yes? Okay, great. Awesome. All right. And so E is expand your view. This is kind of comes back to this idea of our humanity again, because I can't, state that enough. I think it's very easy for us to be in business and just, like do the businessy things and not always remind ourselves that we're humans in this entrepreneurial journey. And so I think this is where we get most of our rocket fuel. Like activities, yes, for sure. We can like make these tweaks and small adjustments to things, and then like boom, things will take off. But we also have to have this in a good state. Like we have to have ourselves in a good centered balanced state in order for that to actually work. So with Expand Your View, we're talking about developing ourselves by looking inward, like getting curious about, okay, what are the things that I'm, where I'm like holding really tight to these beliefs that these activities need to stay, or that I absolutely can't delegate, or that I'm unwilling to do it this way, right? Just looking at that and like getting curious about, I wonder what would happen if I just loosen that up a little bit. Getting an outside perspective is another way to expand your view. Again, this is the kind of thing that I do with my clients where I walk them through this process. And, like when we're in the weeds, we just can't see further than 3 feet in front of our faces. And having somebody, whether it's me or somebody like me, or, a friend, like somebody who can give you the view from 50,000 feet and point out the things that you're not seeing between here and the goal line, the potholes, the obstacles, the potential, the things that you're not seeing about how you're holding tightly, or the ways that you could loosen up, or whatever, the activities that you're doing that aren't necessarily working. It's so beneficial to have somebody who can say, I wonder what would happen if you did it this way instead. That can be super duper powerful. And then again, just be willing to get curious about where fear may be holding you back. We don't love to admit that we're afraid. Sometimes it feels very vulnerable to do that, but just being willing to get curious about it and going like, okay, where do I like feel like, what does it feel like in my body when I suggest to myself that I might, change this tactic, or move in this direction instead, or eliminate this offering, or, not be on social anymore. Like, what does that feel like in my body? Does that feel like great? Or does that feel like, ooh, I don't know, that feels scary? Like, pay attention to that stuff and just be willing to get a little bit curious about it and see where that takes you.